Hello, everyone, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Forsaken. And sadly, the finale. Oh, God, no, don't say it so. But with that in mind, let's not get sad yet. We got a full episode here. First off, Godkiller, please introduce yourself to the lovely folks out there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Humna. I use any and all pronouns, and I am the God Killer for these proceedings. I am playing Omera, who uses they pronouns for the last time this season, and I will pass things over to you, Chris.
Hello, I am Chris, your humble gods who have never done anything but to protect you this season. With that in mind, before we get into this lovely episode, in case you missed these bad boys, if you type !CW in the chat, you will find all the content warnings for this episode in particular. In case you missed it, fantasy violence, gore, blood, familiar struggles, drug abuse, severe weather, romance and references to sexual entanglements, monsters and monstrosities, depictions of experimentation, references to epidemic and diseases, trauma, imperialism, classism, depictions of war, and imprisonment. If none of this floats your boat, there's a plethora of wonderful content out there for you to enjoy. Also, if you want to follow me or the lovely God Killer to my side, you can type !cast to see where you can find us on the internet. With that in mind, Godkiller, are we ready for your last trek here with the living?
Yes, I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. What was that last part you said?
We don't have to worry about that. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Let's get into it. Don't worry about it. With it, while we did leave Omera off alone and cold and somewhere off in the sea, the camera does not pan down on that, but rather we find ourselves winter. Graceful, peaceful, snow dripping down ever so slightly as we look over what looks like to be a house on the outskirts of Mali. This must be some time ago, as there is no, obvious volcanic eruption in the middle of the place, but it seems peaceful. As we go inside of the depths of this warm home against the harsh conditions of the winter, we find ourselves looking in a home that is a little disheveled, but it is clear it is filled with love. Pictures of family members, various increments of the winter for hides and whatnot, places to hang your coats and whatnot, and the fires crackling and roaring the warmth of the inside of this place. Though, as we turn the corner, we see a peculiar sight. We see Omera. Omera, what do you look like at this younger age? This is before the academy. This is before you even got your blessings from what you thought was Ada, but was actually Daros. This is a young Omera. What do they look like?
I think the camera pans over to where we would expect to see Omera in their tall 6'3", and then very quickly goes down as we see a very young, I want to say maybe like 11, 12 years old at this point, Omera. Their build is very much similar to what they are in adulthood, having always grown up in around like a farmer's kind of life, and so we see that they do have a little bit of that like strength very clearly to their form, and their hair is a little bit shorter at this point, just as wild, with just as many twigs and flowers and leaves and whatever stuck inside of it, I'm sure to the chagrin of my parents. But noticeably, there are no tattoos on Omera's skin. Those botanicals, familiar as they are at this point, is completely gone. And Rare Face is rounder than it is in adulthood. There is a very like soft quality to it, and Omera has this sort of like, I think in this current state there is a sort of maybe a little bit of an anger to their eyes in this moment, as they kind of like trudge along.
Yes, anger would be precise, as on top of you being a small child, you seem to have a number of bruises on you, a number of cuts, as it seems that Omera has been in a scrape. As you are kind of dealing with the cuts that are still fresh, you see your brother Ean, also younger, though more in his teens, maybe mid or late pushing. You see he pulls around with a number of ointments, very much looking like that meme of the person looking at the switchboard with the hands on the hips, as he just looks at it and goes, "Now I think we're supposed to use this for cuts, and then this for cleanup."
Other way around.
But...
Come on, do you not pay attention when Dad talks about this stuff?
Well, I don't assume, usually in the heat of a moment, not when my sibling decides to fight. I don't know, was it 5? Was it 4? Kids bigger than you on top of that?
7. And I won.
Oh. Did you? You don't look like you did.
Well, that's because you haven't seen what the other kids look like, and trust me, it's worse.
And how are we, as he opens the jar, you'd explain this one to Dad? I can't wait for him to... What excuse do we have for jumping into the fire this time?
But... It's not my fault. I mean, it's... Other kids are mean. And what? Am I supposed to just let them be mean? I'm supposed to just sit there and let them say really rude things and tease me and poke me and...
Omera, I'm gonna let you in a little secret. As he gets down, applying the ointment, there are 2 things that we have. They're the most powerful things that we have within ourselves. You wanna know what they are?
And Omera, holds up her fists.
No, not your fist. You have your eyes, which you can close and to look away. And you have your ears, which you can close and not paying attention. They're wonderful tools. You should use them.
Okay, well, if you close your eyes and you close your ears, then you might not hear or see what they're doing, but you can still feel it. It's still happening. That doesn't change the fact that people are still being rude.
You let things get to you. You gotta learn that it's just words. They don't really mean anything.
Yeah? Would you be okay with it?
Yes, I have. I've walked away from many situations in which they thought words couldn't rile me up because I am the bigger person.
Well, I mean, and then Omera looks up at Yakin, who is quite literally bigger than them.
Yes, I am the bigger person, and as he finishes that sentence, the door swings open wide. You see winds of winter coming in. And this instant, it is your father. He is probably maybe around slightly taller than your brother. You see he has a beard, not necessarily for a cosmetic purpose, but just it's winter, I need something to keep my face warm. Very much still the same hair color as you two. You see, built slightly. He was a soldier and he was maybe built a little bit more, but just due to him not being in the army anymore, he's kind of relaxed on the intense regiments one may have to go through in war. As you do see, he is coming back from a recent hunt. Has a deer on his side that he just puts down. You see, as he pulls his hood off, looking towards you, surprised and disappointed, as he goes, "Yakin, what happened? This isn't on me. This isn't on me. They can explain it to you. I was here, home. They were supposed to come here, but then they decided to fight.
The kids were being mean. Everyone was being mean and rude, and I was not going to let them. That's all. I'm fine. I won."
You see, Your father looks at at your brother, just like, "Are you serious, man? Come on." And he's just like, "I didn't see him." He goes, "Okay, Keen, please take the deer to the back. That's dinner. You, in the chair, you have cuts that need to be cleaned."
Okay. And Omera, I think, like, very quickly scrambles over.
You see, he prepares it. Your father is a natural with these things. While your brother was very much of like, "I don't know which one is which," your father takes it almost like someone who studied in this in years, grabbing them like they're nothing and just mixing them, not even really looking at what he's doing, as it's almost like a repetition he's been through as he looks towards you. What happened?
I mean, does it really matter? All that matters is that people were behaving in ways that they shouldn't, and I stood up for myself.
You see, he applies it, slight sting to it, as it's very much alcohol touching fresh skin. And why did you stand up for yourself? What were they saying about you? I know not many things rile you up, but not enough that you would go, what, 1v5?
Okay, it wasn't exactly about me.
Now, you care to tell the truth of what actually happened?
And Omera, like, looks up at Rare Father with this, like, hesitation in their face, like they are trying to protect their dad from something. Some of the kids were saying that you and mom are like bad or like wrong for you know, being a part of the being soldiers and being, you know, part of the empire in the way that you are, and it just, they were just saying that you were bad and that you did bad things, and that didn't make any sense.
You see, he continues healing you, and you sought to defend my honor. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, why would they say that? They don't even know you. How could they possibly know what you did or didn't do or anything? That doesn't... Can't just say things.
While it is true that they may not personally know what I've done, I'm not exactly a good person, Omera. I have done things that I regret.
Why would you say that? What do you mean?
Well, when you're older, I will tell you the extent of what I had to do to survive, and of the war that made me into the person I am today, and the people that I have lost. But that is not something to discuss at your age. What is important, and what we must focus on, is that you, at least, we know you are not just picking fights for the hell of it, for you're not as easily irritated as your brother. As your brother goes, "I can hear you!"
Well, he's right!
Ah!
Well, I mean, whatever you did before, whatever regrets you may have, the things that you chose, I mean, I'm sure that they were for a good reason.
That is a dangerous path. Those 3 little words. For a good reason.
And Omera's like counting on their fingers.
It's 4. Okay. We have to be careful. Good is a point of view. A bad man can think they're doing a good thing when in reality it's not. And a good person can try to do a good thing and it ends up being a bad thing, if that makes sense.
Okay. But, I mean, it isn't the thing that makes somebody good or that makes somebody bad is the things that they want to do or try to do. I mean, a bad person wouldn't try to do a good thing, and a good person wouldn't try to do a bad thing.
I guess when a good person is asked the question, are you good? The answer that one would typically give is yes or no, when in actuality the right answer is you don't know. It's okay not to know whether what you're doing is good or bad, but you know an important lesson. That sometimes, whether if it is a good thing or a bad thing, you're standing up for somebody. Some people don't have strength we do.
So then if we don't know, then who knows? Who knows if what you're doing is good or bad?
Well, most people would tell you the gods and their omnipresence vision know what is good or bad. But I guess if you want something that's a little bit less religious, what you feel in here, as he points to your heart, this wonderful thing we call a soul. And when you feel a bad thing, it aches and it tears at you. And when you get a good thing, you feel better. You feel like you have, I don't know, happy in a sense. That's our compass, that's our guide.
Okay. So listen to the gods and Omera kind of like points to their heart.
More emphasis on the heart than the gods. My personal taste. Though don't tell your mother. They wouldn't agree with me.
It'll be our secret.
Patches you up. Now, let's get dinner ready before your mother comes home. And you are going to be the one explaining why you are covered in band-aids.
Do we have to?
Yes. As you see, he goes off. And while it is an awkward conversation you're probably going to have, you feel that you've learned something here. Something important. And as that goes, you slowly begin to fade from your dreams, from recollection of your memories. Omera, you're slowly waking up. Within this cell you have found yourself in. Stone rock. With only a bed, very much a reminder of your days at Scarlet Bay. As you're waking up, what are we feeling in this moment?
Omera is, first and foremost, alone. And this loneliness feels so very different from the alone, the isolation, the solitude of standing in front of the Fountain Forest. Because then they knew that Ray would find their way back to the rebels after completing a task, and things would go back to the way that they had been for quite some time now. But here in the tower, all alone, dying, having been shunned by everybody that they had spent a good amount of time with. I think this is the first time in a long time that Omera truly feels lonely. Omera, before all of this, had been used to being alone, in some sense of the term. They lived out in the woods in a relatively solitary area and, had quite a bit of time to themselves. But I think here that silence, the absence of other people, of other bodies, of other energies, feels oppressive in a way that's wildly uncomfortable.
Slowly waking up, you feel the kind of gurgling in your stomach as you see the food that has been left for you is on the side. And as you do wake up, getting full consciousness, you see your father. Though this is a bit on and off for you. He took a bit to the head from Titus before, and things are a little confusing. You don't know if it's necessarily head trauma or if this is the ghost of your father, but generally you don't know. Nor do I think Omera would have the energy to find out. I'm curious.
At this point, definitely not. I mean, as we've established, Omera is quite literally dying. And so I think a lot of the physical energy is spent on just like remaining conscious, like moving their body, basic sort of functions. So I don't think that they have, like you said, the sort of wherewithal to really super question whether this is a dream or a ghost or a hallucination or anything. And Omera wakes up. Where, like, relative to me is my father?
He's very much like arms crossed on the side. So in terms of this year's bed, it's kind of near the front. As you see, he kind of gestures over to the food. As you hear him speak, you should eat.
Omera, I think wordlessly, without taking their eyes off of their father, thinking that if they do so, he might disappear. We'll kind of like move over to the food, take like a very small portion of it in one hand, a different small portion of it in the other, and we'll start eating, and then we'll offer their father the other. Again, not sure if this is like a real person here, but
See, hands it back to you. You will need the strength.
how are you here?
You see, he kind of moves around your cell. It is said that within our culture, when we are close to the end of our lives, we see the ones that we have lost to help us in that next leg of our journey.
Are you here to help me join you and Mom?
It's up to you, kiddo. You've had a long journey, haven't you?
Really long. And it would be so much easier with you.
I know. You've seen wonders beyond belief, from great seas to captivating forests. Did you ever think you would die here? Cold, stone, alone?
No. I don't think I mean, I've had a lot of time to think about death, my own, other people's. It's what I worked every day to stave off. And I've had, since all of this, different ideas of what, when, where, how. In the forest, due to an illness that spread through the town, or in Scarlet Bay, toiling away for the rest of my life. At the academy. So many different versions, but no, I never thought that I would be here. Did I make the wrong choices?
She sits down on the bed. Well, it's not for me to decide. How do you feel?
Well, you once told me that the correct answer is I don't know. I don't know
That's a
if
good answer.
what I've done is good or bad. And I'm not just saying that because that's supposed to be the right thing to say, but because I really don't know. And one thing you didn't teach me was how scary it is not to know.
Your mother would say that's what faith is for, but clearly you have had a hard time with faith and the gods.
I don't think we can trust them to be the arbiters of right and wrong. I've learned way too much about how they have come to be in the first place, and, well, it doesn't feel right in here. And Omera points to their heart, the same way that Rare Father had when Ray was younger.
If it doesn't feel right, then why don't you become one? That is an option at your disposal, is it not?
There was a time
Kill
when
them all, take their place.
There was a time when I thought that that was the right thing to do, when I wanted that. But I don't think that's the right thing anymore. Do you know, Dad, how the gods came to be, how the archons formed? Did you know?
Does it matter?
It does. It was through the death of countless lives. Hundreds of people, maybe even thousands of people, had to die in order for the archons to have the power that they do. And that is a exchange that feels wrong to me.
But how many lives have they saved? How many people did you get to know because of the power they took, of the lives they took? Was it right to kill many, to save many more?
But think also of all of the lives that they destroyed after they took the power for themselves. Do those not count in the scales that we're balancing?
Are you trying to balance scales? I thought you were trying to survive. That's what you've been doing, surviving.
At first. And Omera, I think, reaches out for their dad. Again, not sure if he's actually corporeal in this state, actually there, but reaches out their hand for their dad to take, theoretically. I don't know if my life is necessarily the most important thing in everything that's going on.
You see, you reach out your hand, but he simply gets up from the bed, not touching it, still leaving you in that state of incoherentness, not sure what is real and not. He looks back towards you. After all this time, you are still that little child getting into scuffles. People bigger preying on people smaller, or saying bad things, behind your back. But you and I both know a war is coming, in which the people you have protected don't have the means to fight against those big bullies. You're at a crossroads. Peace on one end, the sweet release that is that death, and more hardship that comes from this responsibility that has been burdened on you. I think the question you need to ask yourself is, after all this time, after everything you've done, all the people you've saved, and all the people you've killed, do you still believe in fate?
I don't know. All I know is there's always a third option.
I hope you find it. As you see immediately to the right of you, someone coming in, and as your head shifts ever so quickly, going back, you see your father is gone in an instant. And with it, your brother pulls up. He kind of looks over to the guard. Titus wants to see him. Come on.
And Omera, I think, is finishing up the last of the meal that they had been given and kind of pushes it aside and, looks over at Yakin. What for?
Your purpose. Your purpose.
Right. And if I don't go?
I'd rather them not beat up my little sibling. I just would suggest that you come.
So you don't want them to beat me up, but you're okay with them using me like a battery?
There are sacrifices that we often have to make in order to save people. You, if anybody, should know that.
Then enlighten me, big brother. And they will kind of swing their legs around the bed, so that it's just off of the bed, and they have their hands to the sides, holding onto the edge, and looking very intently at Yakin. What exactly is happening here to save anybody? What's the end goal?
You see, he tells the guards to back off a bit. Titus will explain it to you all, but the main gist of what's going to happen is they're going to take that stone out of you and end this misery of yours. He will use it to become pretty much a god killer, such as yourself, but more complete. Especially after you cut his life by 3/4 and is on a timer. He's dying. And he needs your half, or your piece, really, to complete his ritual.
Omera gets up and walks closer to Yakin, getting as close as they can. Do you trust Titus?
I think in this instance, just to make things a little spicy, I will say, are you trying to connect with him, or are you trying to feel something out here?
I'm trying to feel him out for now. I want to see if they, where are they feeling? Where, what are their loyalties? Where, are there any doubts that are here?
I think, in terms of, I'll answer what feels dark and unnerving. In terms of, does he trust Titus? You can feel that there's a fear behind it. Whether or not if he does trust Titus, Titus is powerful. If you think if there was a version of you that was unhinged, it's very much worrisome of how that person would act. You at least have some code of ethics, while Titus is a man of science, unchained and unbound by those little pesky ethics that we tend to have when running experiments. He could do something to your brother on a number of levels, from something positive to negative, but he won't know until he finishes his task.
As a
Does he trust
researcher,
Titus?
that is a kill.
Come on. Geneva is calling. No, but with that, you do feel that sense of like, he's in uncharted territory. He doesn't know. It's not
Okay.
a definitive no, but it's not a definitive yes.
Okay, so what feels welcoming on the surface? What feels welcoming on the surface is that I think because Yakin and I are siblings, that there is at least some sense of like that remnant of trust, you know, between family that is still there. And so in this moment, there is a possibility, though Omera is not quite sure like how much, but there is a possibility in which Yakin may be able to put more trust into Omera than into Titus in this moment. Because at the very least, Yakin can more reliably predict what Omera is likely to do or is likely to want to do, whereas Titus is a little bit more of a wild card in that way, and it's difficult to predict, and that makes somebody dangerous. And so keeping that in mind, sort of like gauging that from Yakin, Omera will reach out Rare Hand from the bars, and if Yakin has like a hand on the bars or something, is going to, if they'll allow it, will like wrap a hand gently around Yakin's.
Let's it happen.
There is a way to be safe that doesn't allow for this power to spiral. It is dangerous to give Titus this level of power, and I know you see that.
But yet mom or dad and dead. And it was because those people had their rules and their codes and everything above that led them to die. They didn't intervene when they should have. Titus at least understands that we have to do something.
People like Titus would not have intervened
How do
in
you
Mom
know?
and Dad's death because they didn't. Because they didn't, Yakin. Titus doesn't care about the lives of other people, that much is clear. He only cares about proving that he can be the most powerful in taking over. If your life was on the line, or mine, or anyone else's, he would be the last to show up. You remember what Dad used to say, right? And Omera's other
Bring
hand
up, Dad.
goes up to Yakin's chest. What do you feel? What feels right to you? Now I'm trying to connect with someone.
I'll let you take initiative here. What do you want to answer?
Okay. I will say what still divides us is that we still have different perspectives on the situation, and so there is still a possibility that what feels right to Yakin or what feels wrong is different from the answer to that question for Omera. So Yakin's whole perspective on the death of their parents, on, you know, the gods, on Titus, and sort of this whole plan that the Archons have to create new gods and whatnot, like, because we have a different sort of way that we're looking at all of this, the calculation, the math of what is correct here may still not align, even though Omera is trying to make that connection.
Fantastic. And what common ground do we share? Your family. Even though pain in the ass, a number of things, betraying people, fighting on several occasions, you're still at the end of the day people who grew up together in the same home, taught the same values, and are still, you've shared events and feelings with each other. And it is, you can see on his face, as he's not looking directly at you, but very much if you're talking this way, his face is to the side. As you see, he's doing the mental calculus in his head of very much what is he going to do. And as you plead and thinking and whatnot, you see one of the guards go, "Come on, we're gonna be late."
And Omera, I think, like, lets go of Yakin at that and kind of, like, steps aside for the doors to the cell to be opened.
Open it up. Handcuff you. Not able to do any magic or anything of that sort. Come on. Let us not keep the Grand Vizier waiting. As you see, he takes charge.
And Omera will follow, hoping that rare words got through to him, maybe even a little bit.
You begin to make your way to the promenade. As you do, you really haven't gotten a sense of what this place is, as you spent a good amount of whatever time you've been in here in these cells. At first, the corridors themselves are made of that same goddamn obsidian stone. Smooth black on the walls reflecting off the light. But soon, the place begins to open itself up as you exit through the tunnel of light. You hear the sounds of excavation and construction all around you. As you see a tower is what you're in. You don't know how tall it goes, you don't know how far it goes down, as it is both fathomless from top to bottom. On around kind of where it is of that obsidian stone built into its smooth staircases going up, but it is the center that draws your eye. As there is a spire made of the same stone, but sculpted into it, you see are various figures of horrified, almost like half bodies, reaching out as if they were extending for help. Frozen, very much sculpted, but breathing into it a light purple that acts almost like a soft light. As you see that the centerpiece spire, this sort of centerpiece is still the same length of going up to down. All around it, faces of horror. With it, you proceed to make your way up the stairs and find yourself at the very top after some time. You see that it is more of a dome-like structure. With the panels on top, you can tell are latches that will open up to the outside if need be, but for the moment are closed. You can hear the distant sounds of the shore hitting across the bed of lava pits in the nearby corner in terms of the outside, and the thunder that is in the sky. But in the room that you're in, you see there is a number of machinery and devices, reading constantly, having a systematic feedback to one another, as officials, scientists, and whatnot are going about doing their duties. In the center lies a large purple stone. You see chained ethereally into the ground, keeping it steady and on the floor. But the thing that you notice is that this stone, this crystal, has been constructed piece by piece and is missing one piece. A shard that just needs to be put in to make it whole. And on either side of this crystal, very much on one side of the room and the other side of the room, you see what looks like to be operating tables or something to latch somebody on to, where this maybe main experiment goes down. Turning around, Titus, speaking to a number of individuals, kind of waves them off and greets you with a smile. Ah, if it isn't my old friend. I hope they've been treating you well.
I don't think that you have the right to call me that anymore, Titus.
You are still not friends? This favor you will do to me will be quite the friendly favor.
Is this how you treat your friends? And Omera will lift up their hands that are handcuffed.
Well, when they're a little feisty, yeah. The last thing I need is for you to throw a punch.
I feel bad for your friends.
We do all know. Ever quick-witted are we? Yet, I'm not the one in chains.
I have a question above table for you, Chris.
Please do.
So, as I was walking through this tower, and you said that the spire that's in the middle, goes the full length of the tower, right? So it would have been an omnipresent kind of feature as I was kind of moving through this tower. So I would have had a lot of time to observe it, right, as I'm walking. Is there anything that I can learn about the nature of the spire as I'm walking, just through observation? Obviously you said I can't do magic, so not without having to actually do any magic. Can I get any sense of basically what I'm trying to get at is are these truly sculptures, or are those people in there, or formed from souls?
I would say without having to roll anything, you can tell that there's a presence you feel off of it. Whether if it is souls or magic, you don't know per se.
Okay.
But the spire, the centerpiece, I think you're understanding that this place is not necessarily a tower, but more of a siphon. It's an instrument. You can feel it's being directed to the top here, to whatever this main crystal is. But for the purposes here, you can feel that the centerpiece is important. Even though it doesn't act as anything in the structure. If this middle piece was to be done for, this place wouldn't crumble. You see that it's a feature of this place.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, Omera's just gonna file that in the back of her head as Ray kind of had moved through the tower, and is now kind of focused on this giant crystal and Titus. And I think they turn to Titus. I was told that you had something to tell me, or that you needed me for something.
Well, I do. I wanted you to bear witness to my great works. I think it was only fair to explain why many of your people died or are currently in my employ. But they died for the glory of it all.
Please enlighten me.
In my many travels as an individual of exiled reprieve, I did a number of time digging in the various ruins of the Boundless, the old ones, And I found the god's little secret, the infinity machine. As he kind of does a little bit of a twirl all around the place. You see, this machinery, this power, will make me into a god killer, higher than the emperor, and higher than all the archons in the land. I will be the center of my own pantheon. Rather than being polylistic and sharing my wealth with others, I think I'm going to go with a monistic route. I think I deserve that, at least.
Did you decide that for yourself?
I did. I did spend a considerable amount of manpower and work to finish my great plans here. But I, like any great story of a god coming into being, need a sacrifice, per se.
And what sacrifice would that be, Titus?
Well, if we're connecting the fucking dots here, you. You see, the stone in your chest was supposed to be mine. You happened to show up at the wrong place at the wrong time and stole, like you always do, my thunder. My right.
And Omera just kind of like is very exasperated at this point, and just kind of like if they could just like hands up, just like whatever, which they can't do right now, but I have no idea, Titus, what you are talking about. I don't understand why you think that I stole anything from you when all I ever did at our time at the academy was defend you.
Oh, really? Did you defend me when Isabella thought they were so great and decided to cast me off like I was some rut in the gutter? Did you defend me when you fucked up my presentation and ruined my chance in front of the Emperor? I could have had a life, but no, you and your deeds had to go mess it up.
See, this is your problem, Titus. You are so entitled. You think that you deserve everything just because you deign to exist. Well, that's the thing, Titus. You are not owed power. You are not owed greatness or fame or whatever it is you want. And you are certainly not owed that at other people's expense.
I am owed everything. I have spent my years reading of deeds of greater men and women who have done more with the amount of time that I have. I have done nothing because of the way the shit life handed me these cards, but I persevered. I took what shit this life gave me. I bowed to whatever god I needed to, and now I am on the precipice of getting everything that I am owed, and to make this place a better world for people like me, so we don't have to bow down and take the shit from the archons in order to be considered above it all, to be considered someone important.
The archons do not deserve our worship. I agree with you on that. But what makes you think that you do?
Military knowledge, scientific knowledge,
God.
the study of agriculture, study of architecture. I know all of these things. I know every word in every book, every idea in the world that I can implement if given the chance. I'm smarter. I'm better.
You're arrogant.
Hell, I'm a better god killer than you.
Is that all? Is that all that you had to say? Does that feel good? Do you feel better?
Do not mock me. As you see, the more monstrous side of his god killer nature comes out. Almost in a sense of you hit his divine trigger in a sense.
If
You see his skin begin to form that purple metal that you have, but more in a sense if he has control of it.
If you are going to behave like a child, then I will treat you like one, Titus. And GM, lovely GM.
Yes.
I would like to use that specific interaction to challenge someone dangerous.
Please do. They care about your opinion. Believe it or not, I'm gonna give you this one. He's giving this whole spiel. I think he's trying to protest it. Fucking idiot. Fantastic. So you get the plus one. They do think they're stronger than you.
Yeah, no
the crowd
kidding.
is not in your. The crowd is not on your side because it's like you're in handcuffs. What are you gonna do?
Gotcha.
So you got 2 here. You got 2.
Come on, dice, don't fail me now.
Come on.
God damn it. Okay, are you sure the crowd's not on my side? Are we sure?
No,
are we
just like,
sure?
You're handcuffed and you're still beating
Are you sure
back.
they're
You
not
were
like
talking
secretly in their hearts just like
You were talking to a wall a hot second ago. You think they're gonna follow that? Like,
okay, I get a 6.
a 6.
So on a 6, it says your target turns the tables on you with cutting words or very real threats. However, I can suffer 2 strain to resist their provocations or immediately do something foolish and risky in response, which I'll let you tell me what Titus is gonna do, but I just need you to know I am gonna suffer that 2 strain. But before that, can I let you know what I was trying to provoke Titus into?
Please let me know what we were trying to
So
do.
yeah, so it says here, like, what foolish or risky action do you hope that they'll take? So in trying to bait Titus, in trying to sort of like noticing that they are getting angry, Omera was trying to bring out more of this sort of like monstrous form that Titus has, and was specifically trying to like position themselves to be in front of the spire so that if Titus attacks them, hopefully they'll attack the spire. That's what I was trying to do.
Christ. Oh God. Well, thank God that didn't happen.
What do you mean? It would have been fun.
End scene. Just roll credits. Fantastic. With that, you try to get a response out of him, and you see as his monstrous side grows, he takes a step back, puts his hair behind his head as the skin begins to retract. Sticks and stones, as always. Sticks and fucking stones. Still got it in ya. Huh? Witch.
Sorry, I'm trying to decide if I'm simply gonna resist or if I'm gonna do something foolish and risky. I think in this moment, Omera is going to be smart, and is going to remember the lesson that they had been taught not by their father, but by Yakin, their older brother. In that moment, that when people are saying things to you, when people are, you know, whatever, that you can close your eyes, you can turn off your ears, you can ignore them. And in this case, Omera can't exactly walk away, but they can try and just metaphorically close their eyes and close their ears. And that is what I will suffer to strain to do.
Your brother does take note as he gives it a smirk a little bit, but hides it real quick, understanding the room he is in. Titus just goes around. It's a shame. If you didn't find that stone, I would have loved to have you and Azul by my side, to be a part of our future. My future.
How generous of you.
I will be a benevolent god. God of death, sure, but I'm singular. I can be many things. I can be that of gambling. I can be that of nature. I could be death, of course. I can be life. And he kind of drones on. And almost if he's giving a little bit of a fuck you to you, I could also be of storms. As you see, he conjures a little bit of Isabella's power. As lightning traces over his fingertips like a coin in between his hands.
Omera will... I think there's like a prickle in Omera as he does that, but they again sort of steel themselves and do not allow Titus to provoke them in this case. And instead, Omera is, I think, going to try to like deflect. Did you really just bring me out here to talk at me? Is there nothing else that you wanted? Because if not, you can put me back where you found me. I grow tired of your rambling.
You're not going back to the cell. Today's your day, sacrificial little pup. You see, he snaps his fingers and everyone proceeds to move about in a fast hurry. I will give you the one thing you have always wanted since you touched that accursed stone. Today, you will die. I'm gonna send you to the afterlife. He presses his hands forward. Prep them. Get them ready. It is now time for me to ascend. Bye-bye.
And I think Omera is probably besieged by different people that are working for Titus, and they try to resist as best that they can under these conditions, but given that they are unable to do their magic, I think and Omera's not exactly the strongest person. They're not they don't lack strength, but they're definitely not able to overpower a whole bunch of people, and so I think they're muscled over to whatever operating table Titus is sort of directing them to.
You see, take you into a nearby room that's a bit secluded. You do notice Titus, following suit, goes to his side, a little bit less forceful. And with that, in the isolated room, they begin to strap you around the sort of table that's there, prepping you, especially around the region of your stone. You can feel an intense fear, not necessarily coming from you, but dawn inside, as you can feel almost like their heartbeat going faster than yours, as they seem to be incredibly scared. But before you're really able to react or deal with it, you see Ean one last time kind of goes, I'm sorry for everything, but this has to be the right thing to do.
Listen to your heart, Ean. If you've learned anything from Mom and Dad, it will not lead you astray.
Mira, if I am wrong, as he whispers to you, it will mean everything I sacrificed. The things I have done, the people I have killed, it would be for nothing. That I did the wrong thing. I could not live with myself if I believed that everything I have done since the point Mom and Dad died to the point that I am here was all for nothing and false. Do you understand what that does to a person?
And Omera, with their, I assume still handcuffed, with their hands handcuffed, is gonna grab onto Ean imploringly. That is not for you to decide. The wise person knows that they can never decide if what they did is right or wrong. And you, if you have made a mistake, it does not do to dig into that mistake further and further and further. Instead, we make up for it. We find the people that we've hurt and we make up for it. Follow your heart, Ean.
As the conversation finishes, you feel yourself begin to raise as the platform that you are strapped onto begins to As you see on the opposite end, with a gleeful smile strapped in a similar nature, Titus. Bear witness, fair mortals, as I will ascend. Begin extraction. You see the panel doors as you begin to feel the smoke and smog from the outside begin to pour in, as you see he commands the lightning in his hands. You see that on the side from the top, one of the mechanical arms that are just there begins to very roughly, without precision or care, begin to cut around the region of the stone. And you start to feel it begin to pull out. As it is, you feel your spine is on fire in a sense. You feel pain unlike any stab wound or gut shot or anything of that nature, as it is binding pain that you have to hold back the scream. You feel your power begin to draw from you. And believe it or not, Dawn, whose voice is concerned, as they whisper, Omera, begins the silence, as you see the spirit begin to come out of you, along with the stone, as the pieces of your flesh are still around it, leaving that gaping hole in your chest that soon begins to bind itself. But you soon begin to feel powerless. And you see the stone slowly but surely goes to the center, as the most strangest of things begins to happen. The statues of the figures of horrified faces begin to move, looking somberly, reaching out with their arms towards that glowing, bright purple crystal. As the tower begins to breathe to life. And that is where we shall take a quick break.
Bro, what?
Yeah. Say
Bro,
again.
what?
Excuse
The tower
me?
is living?
Is this allowed? Oh, shit. Oh, no.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were in annihilation.
Hey, you know what it is. With that, everyone, we're going to take a quick break here before we get to the second act of our finale. So with that, go grab a snack, use El Baño, and we'll be right back. See you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second half. Let's get back into it. With it, we see the experiment going into full swing. The stone clicks into place, and rather it forming into a whole piece, we see as the stone goes in, it divides into 3 sections as it begins to split apart. Almost like a weird extra-dimensional Rubik's Cube. It begins to glow in glyphs and energy opening up. Omera, you feel your spirit. Dawn is kind of gone, is inside where it was going, but you also feel it's beginning to drive on your other god killer abilities as it begins to draining your vitality, almost as if it is doing a reverse god killer on you in this instance, but a little bit slower, not instant as usually, but you can feel Titus laughing as he feels this power begin to swell inside of him as you hear him scream, and you do too have the ability to talk. You see the glory that is beholden to us.
Omera is, I think, as soon as Ray started to feel Dawn in particular start to fade away and out of their soul, their mind, they're not really sure. They hadn't figured that part out just yet together. But as soon as that happened, I think Omera is bound, so not literally physically, but tries to reach out spiritually within their soul to Dawn to try and catch them and hold on to her and pull her back.
Tempt fate for me, if you be so kind.
Okay.
A skill ally is not lending you a hand. You have no other option, pretty much. You are far from any god that gave you this, you're far from any god that wishes you harm. I will give you that one, because homeboy here is not a god yet. He's a god killer.
All right.
A little benevolence.
Oh, thank you. Look at that, everyone. Chris Cologne being nice.
You can't say I wasn't nice before I killed you. So.
Okay, so I get +2?
Yes.
I got an 8!
Oh, look at that. You get through it mostly unscathed, and you're spared for now. So what happens here as you are kind of pulling on Dawn's spirit to try to grasp some form of them?
I think it is almost a partway activation of that power that Omera took from despair. That ability to see into people's souls and to interact with their souls that almost halfway activates. And Omera, I think we see almost like an astral projection where Omera's arm reaches out from the binding that it's in and very quickly in a snap grabs onto Dawn's soul and keeps it in place as they start to pull him back into themselves, because as Dawn has very explicitly said to Omera before, if Dawn is gone, then that's it, right? We're not sure whether they would survive being separated from Omera. We're not sure what would happen to them. And so not wanting Dawn to disappear, to die, or worse, there's that slow, almost like pulling in a fishing line of when you've caught a really, really heavy fish, that slow sort of reeling back in.
Grabbing them, and luckily you did, as you can feel that gaping hole in your left side as the stone kind of embedded itself out would have stayed at that large precipice, but luckily, as you're able to bring the spirit back inside, it begins to heal itself. What are we going to do?
We have to stop Titus. at any cost. He cannot gain this power. Too many people will be sacrificed for it.
You hear him crackling. I will have a gospel in my name. I will rule a continent, all thanks to the Witch of Mali. As you start to see the skin begin to form around him, but as the experiment is going through, you see on the top, coming down, you hear a screech. The familiar sound of Ada. As you see there in that sort of leafy owl-like form, as you feel something hit into the side of the tower, going suit as Titus looks up. What did you do? As he looks over to you in your direction.
And I think still strapped to this table, Omera like smiles in relief, like relief goes through their body at the sound and sight of allies, hopefully, coming to help. And Omera, not looking at Titus, just looking up, laying on this table, says, see, that's the thing, Titus. It's not just me. It's never been just me. And with that, Omera is going to, whisper to Dawn, can you get us out of these bindings? And will allow, if Dawn, wants to take over Omera's body to get us out. You are muted on Discord.
There we go. Computer, don't die on me now. With that, Dawn goes, I'll do my best. Begins to take control, not of your whole body, but of the arm region, trying to use its force. You see Titus on his other end. You see his muscles begin to grow irregularly, of misshapenness, but still of strength. You see his skin begin to become clearly of that sort of strange purplish metal as he pulls off the binds. You hear one of the nearby scientists, but sire, you are not complete yet. It is okay, they're not going anywhere. You see he extends his hand out to try to take as much energy as he can, almost like if he is recharging himself as he begins to get full up from various cracks and crevices of his body as the light emanates, almost like an indicator of his battery life. You say you have friends. Let's fix that. As you see Ada comes from another pass, he, using his full might, jumps and begins to crash into Ada as they go off and begin to have a fight in their own, as they go off screen for a bit, as you hear them thunder on the outside. As you are pulling up, you start to hear a commotion downstairs, from the staircase specifically. Gunshot, swords bashing, and with it you see somebody get kicked up. And as all the scientists and all the officials try to go off, you see coming out of the smoke is Aiden. Gun held raised high, and you see kind of looking direction. Alright, which one of you weird fucking bastards? Where's Omera?
And am I free of the bindings yet?
I will say in this point, you have control of your arms.
Okay. One question above table, actually, before I say. So the stone has been taken from me at this point, and so all of that divine power is gone, or it has dissipated. Has this also changed Omera's appearance? Because I remember I was partially metallic and whatnot, and has that also gone away, or is that permanent?
I will say it has gone away. You do notice that your condition, you don't feel like you're dying anymore. You do very much feel like the stone was connected to your sickness, but the thing is, you don't feel as powerful. I will say for the purposes of this, whatever abilities you have taken from gods and selves, you're going to be only really able to use once, rather than constantly. So your crows, anything of that nature, you're only going to be able to use this once. unless you get that stone back on you. It's very much of like, now you are in a very similar situation to Aiden, as you're just batteries at this point. While you don't have to worry about dying, the power that gave you the ability to kill gods is limited in nature.
Okay. Gotcha. So being sort of back in their normal sort of like regular human form, Omera, I think like if we're looking from below, like up at the platform that Omera is on, just kind of like pokes a head out at the sound of Aiden's voice and says, "I'm up here."
Shoots off the latches off of your legs, letting you to grab yourself on the floor ground. You look good. You find a cure?
Not quite. We can talk about that later. And Omera, I think, will like turn around and like point in the direction that Titus and Ada had gone off to. Titus has not fully succeeded, but has taken a lot of my power.
I think the Arcanon can handle it. If anything, there's a lot of people in this tower. We gotta get them out, and of course we gotta get you out. So, like you would do on an airship, let's worry about ourselves first, then we help out when we can.
Not yet. And Omera is going to like run over, like not even answering Aiden's like confusion, and is just going to immediately run over. And can you describe for me like this crystal, this giant sort of rock formation? Is it like on top of the spire? Like what is its relative position to the spire?
It's very much on top. It's very much in a sense of, you see like at the base of it, rather than it being something circular in nature, it's very much palms that are moving and whatnot. So it's very much like this weird palm-like opening for it, but it is slowly or kind of floating, hovering off of the top of this base.
Okay. And we have a whole bunch of like people that like work for Titus and whatnot here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think at this point, Omera is going to jump onto this spire and start climbing on top of it until they can reach the top of this gem rock formation and like is standing right on top of it. And so they kind of have this like vantage point looking down at like everything that's going on, everyone that's here. And from this space, Omera is going to yell out as loudly as they can to everybody else here. The person that you are following is dangerous, is unpredictable, and does not care for any of your lives. They claim that what they are doing is for the betterment of everyone, is to save everyone, but it's not true. He has presented you all with a false binary. Follow the Archons or follow him. And I'm here to tell you, there's always a third choice. There is always another option. Now, let me show you exactly the god that you are following. And if I may, I would like to use this as my divine trigger in combination with my renown move, the God Killer. And I would like to answer the question, what part of yourself do you lose to rescue those without your power? And in this case, the people that I am rescuing are everyone else that's here, but also it's sort of a grander vision. It is all of the people that will die to create the god that Titus is. It is everybody that is going to suffer at Titus's hands for him to get what he wants. And specifically, I have been touched by oblivion before. And now I allow myself to slip closer and deeper into oblivion in order to channel whatever remaining power of divinity that I have left within me, and whatever power that maybe Oblivion can bestow upon me in this moment as well. And in this sort of clashing of perhaps opposing energies, perhaps opposing polarities of power, Omera is going to channel that destructive energy of Oblivion, one of the powers that I have. So I'm also wielding a power. And is going to, through their eyes, which become black scleras, black pupils, black everything, is going to launch and shoot that power of Oblivion straight down through the rock, through the gem, and into the spire below.
All right, fantastic. I think just to make this simple,
Mm-hmm.
you are activating your trigger here, going deep in down, and almost as if confirmation, you feel that entity go around. Are you sure you want my power?
Yes, I'm sure.
Then rain death. Getting that confirmation, you feel this power surging within you, wielding a power here. I will say, for this instance, I'm going to say, I'm pretty sure you're desperate.
Yeah, I'll mark the strain.
For this way. And you are getting this from an entity nearby. So you get +2 for this.
Perfect. Please, dice. 7.
So look at you, kiddo. You do it. So explain what happens here as you grabbing this energy, almost very much Dragon Ball-esque. This orb of this necrotic purple image energy that's sort of swirling about in your hand, growing more powerful. You see the scientists seeing what you're doing. Whether they agree with you or not, you see that you're about to do something very much explosive in nature and begin to run out, with Aiden being the only person here to witness you in your full glory.
So to be clear, I have activated my divine trigger, but I have not yet unleashed my divinity. I'm still keeping that in the back pocket.
Okay. You're still seeing all this power you're immensing here, so I will say that.
And the way that it feels for everyone else is like being at the event horizon of a black hole. It is a power that or a feeling that I'm sure a lot of people here have never felt before, never having that connection or that interaction with Oblivion. And it is something that feels like it is going to collapse in on itself as the beam shoots out of Omera's eyes and I think cracks this gem in half. And so whatever is kind of keeping it held maybe fails, and the two halves are kind of broken and falling off of the spire. And similarly, you can tell me how far into the spire it goes, because I know you said that this spire is very long, but it creates a similar kind of crack into the middle of the spire. And my hope is that it will allow whatever souls or people are trapped within it to ribbon out.
I will say, for the purposes of this, you see slow motion goes into the crystal. Shards, pieces begin to break, but then it begins to go into the stone. You don't know how far it goes, but you do get the feeling it goes through and through from top to bottom. As you see cracks of light begin to emanate the darker parts of this teal ethereal green that splits from the cracks and crevices. The spire itself is not destroyed, but very, very broken. And through the cracks, you see arms of spirits trying to escape as best they can. Not everybody is able to get out of it, but you do notice you have created so many fissures and cracks with all these spirits around going through. At this point, Aiden, it's wow, that's insane, but let's go with it. Is that all you're gonna do? Can we leave now?
And Omera, again, ignoring Aiden, because that's not what we came here for. Ignoring Aiden.
I'm not done yet. I ain't done yet.
Looks around at everybody and sort of like gesturing to all of the like spirits that are escaping from the spire will say, "This is your fate too, under Titus's rule. You are not going to be spared from this. If they decide that your life is worth sacrificing, this is what it'll end up as. Don't let it. Join." And is Azul here? Or sorry, not Azul. Is Jasea here?
Jasea is not here. You
Okay.
get from the understanding, the rebels did not come.
Okay.
Only your friends.
Well, that's fine. And Omera is going to say anyway.
Join! Wait!
Yeah, no, it's gonna say anyway. But I was gonna point to Jasea, but if she's not here, we'll just kind of like point to Aiden. You can choose to join the rebellion instead and fight against this monstrosity that calls himself a god.
Do a double take. One of the guards, we would never. As you feel one of the nearby scientists grab a dagger from behind and stab them in the back. You do notice some individuals here, it's a mixed bag. You're able to convince the majority of them, but some are loyal, stalwart followers, as it kind of breaks into some mid-chaos here. Somewhat of a concern as you see Aiden not noticing, gun pointed behind their back, their head specifically, as you see your brother Yakin teeters between pulling the trigger and letting go.
Bro, what? Come on, dude. Come on, man.
You see, he is very much, you don't know which way he's going to pendulum to, because you can see that it's like heretics, heresy everywhere, must end it, but then also looking at you, he is distraught in this sense. What do you do in this instance?
Oh my god. Omera is going to, if I have time, if I can, if you will allow, Omera is going to get in between, like is going like without again saying anything to Aiden, is just going to like jump and go in between Aiden and the barrel of the gun. Facing Yakin.
Going in between, no problem.
What are you doing?
Move. I you need to get back on the table.
Do you not see what Titus is doing?
I see. He's not able to form the words. But we're the heroes. You're the villains. It is black and white.
It's never that simple.
You hear one of the guards, just shoot him already!
Omera's not backing down. Omera's just gonna call this guy's bluff. That's it. Calling their brother's bluff. Shoot me, Chris. I dare you.
Shoot me, motherfucker. Do it, motherfucker. Do it. You see he points the gun towards your face and puts it down. You need to go.
After I deal with Titus. Speaking of which, where is Titus?
He is in the sky and whatnot. You see your brother go, you can do what Titus, but I highly suggest you get all the people out of here.
And
prisoners below.
Omera turns to Aiden, and just kind of says, Aiden, can you handle that?
Yeah, Yeah, got it. What do we do about him? As he points to your brother.
Take him with. He's okay.
One false move, buddy boy, you're in dirt. As he kind of tells him to kind of come on. He goes through. In this instance, as you are, you see coming down, crashing, skidding across the floor, a beaten Archon. Trying to move their sort of leafy, almost eagle-like wings. As you see Titus stop them before they're able to get their hand up, and looks at you as he holds one of the wings. I see you have gotten out of your cage. As you see, he is siphoning off the energy as you speak. Is this your precious revolution? As he puts his boot on Ada's head.
And Omera walks not towards Titus, but towards the remnants of the broken gem, the remnants of the broken spire. Which, question, has that had any effect on Titus at all?
No, not such. You do notice, like, in terms of, like, if you're reading his power gauge, he has gone about, maybe he's like 70% more. As you notice, that sort of level of neon is about there, maybe about his, like, upper, like, lower face.
So it's not like connected to him or anything like that then?
No, you notice that what he's done is sort of, he absorbed what he could from it. So he's his own running battery. It's just in the sense of if he loses his source of power, it's gonna suck.
Gotcha. And I think at this point, like, you know, Aiden has like started to evacuate people, and so people are like, there's fewer people around, I assume, at this point in time. And getting closer to, again, the remnants of the gem and this broken spire, Omera looks over at Titus. Look, let's not draw this out. So I will give you what everybody deserves, which is a chance. A chance to understand that what you are doing is wrong and to make up for it. So, Titus, this is your last chance. Are you willing to put a stop to all of this? All of this cruelty? Or are you going to continue down this path of godhood that you've chosen for yourself? Choose carefully.
Chosen for myself? I was gifted this power. You slipped into it like you always have. You are like a snake sniveling, reaching your tendrils into everyone to believe you know what is right and what is wrong. I have worked too hard, too long, killed too many, sacrificed so much to have some backwater witch from a no-name gambling den take my power and destiny. You want to know what my answer to your plea is? You see, he takes Ada's wing, rips it off of their back, tosses off the side as he finishing absorbing all the power as he tosses them off like garbage to the side. I say, I am the God Killer, and you now face your judgment.
And Omera looks sad at Titus. I'm so sorry. That wasn't the right answer. And I would like to unleash my divinity. The side effect that I'm going to choose is that it is obvious. And the way that this unlocks within Omera is without them even necessarily reaching for it, it wells up like a spring inside of them and bursts forth. And Omera's divinity is a little bit peculiar in this world because, again, they have been touched by oblivion. It is perhaps a little blasphemous. It is this combination of divine power and oblivion. It is a dark matter and regular energy kind of mixing and swelling together in this incomprehensible form that when you look upon them and when you are in their presence, it feels wrong and it feels right at the same time. It is gray. There is no one way about it. It is ever shifting, and I think there is a swirling around Omera as all of the different powers that they have taken from the different gods and divine beings that they have encountered up until this point start to kind of come together and coalesce. And Omera's eyes, again, start to shift into this oblivion, and their tattoos start to swirl, but instead of botanicals and plants or even crows, they shift into black holes, into siphons of energy. And this sort of like power, this radiation that can be felt, is felt for a wide berth that I think even people who aren't necessarily in this room can feel the ripple effects of it kind of emerging out. And if I may, I would like to tack on to this wielding a power. Specifically, I would like to be able to see and interact with Titus's soul specifically.
Fantastic. I think this is good. I leave it up to you. Are you desperate for this to work?
I think Omera has lost desperation, so no.
Okay. No. You have. You have. I'm trying to think, because you have peered into somebody's souls before, but you're adding this onto something. Which
yeah. So I'll take whatever ruling you got. That's okay.
I'll give you the one, because you are taking this from a power of an entity that you kind of are still nearby. So you can get a +1 for this.
Please. Oh, okay, 7.
No fucking way. Oh my god, you lucky motherfucker. Look at you go. You take the realms here, you do it. So what are you doing here?
Like I said, I have turned into a black hole. I am a paradox. I am implosion and explosion all at once, and Omera sucks Titus in. Like the black hole that they are, Titus's soul gets like pulled into Omera's into Omera's event horizon, into their gravity, and Ray, I think, like holds it without holding it in their hands, and they look. And I'd like to ask you, Chris, what does Titus's soul look like? What does it feel like?
His soul, as you... It's sad. Not in a sense of makes you weep for losing a parent or watching someone you love die. It's more in a sense of that pathetic kind of sad. It is frantic in paranoia and jealousy. It is raging, but it is a sad kind of rage, as it is a soul lacking purpose and trying to find it.
And seeing that sadness, that pathetic state that Titus's soul is in, Omera, holding it, will pull it in closer, almost as if Ray was giving it a hug. And again, with that very soft, sad quality to their voice, will say, I am so sorry. And they are going to both implode and explode at the same time, with the explosion being the divine energy, the implosion being the oblivion, sort of pushing in together. And hopefully nobody else is remaining in this space, because I don't think that it is a precise sort of like event that is occurring here. And so anybody that's kind of unfortunately caught in it, I think gets caught in it. And Omera is going to try and like implode and explode, obliterate Titus's very soul.
Before we get to this, a very important question. You lie at a precipice of power. While Titus may give this up, it could be yours. Think of the marvels you could create. Think of the wonders you could perform. The rebellion would have a much easier time with this tower of power. But if you do this divine explosion, this tower will crumble and become nothing more than ruins of power. Do you understand this? That your actions of taking the soul and making sure it will never see sunlight again also means you lose out on power that can help others, that can prevent the formation of other Tituses.
The gods, the archons, should have never been born. And if this action that I take right now will ensure that no other god is ever birthed ever again, then so be it. Let this implosion, let this explosion bring about an end to the realm of gods. I allow it to go forth.
You see him. No, you can't. I worked so hard on this. You can't do this to me again. Who do you think you are?
And Omera just holds Titus's soul tightly in this hug, allowing them to cry out, allowing them to lash out in their last moments, in their last breath. Because that's all that they could really do for him. He's so far gone. There's no point in talking to him.
As this large explosion from the top. Luckily, everyone was able to get out, but what we see, camera perspective, a large explosion unlike anything of this combination of light, dark, and the gray that is in between, blows this tower brick by brick, falling in either to the ocean or the lava below. The first part of it explodes. Well, the second half, the sturdier part, like a long tree being cut down, leans and then cracks. The explosion, believe it or not, pushes two bodies away. We'll get to that in a second, but more importantly, we go to Omera. As you find yourself ever slightly so scraped from the sands, you see the body of Titus. Though you've taken his soul, the living part of him remains, is still alive, though dying. as he has been pierced by a large stalagmite stone. As the skin begins to die away, and he looks at you in disbelief as he returns back to normal. What did you do to me?
If Omera can, they will get themselves up off of the rubble, off of the sand, and walk closer to Titus and sit down in front of his face so that they can see them. Cross-legged on the sand. I killed a god.
Touching the blood from his side, I had everything. Why did you take it away from me? I could have made this world so beautiful. I could have deposed the emperor. I could have built a dynasty that could have lasted 1,000 years.
Titus, do you think you're a good person?
Looking down, very much laid back towards the sunset. I tried to be a good person. I tried for so long, and I just found it left me wanting.
And Omera takes a deep breath. It's hard knowing what is right, what is wrong, what to do. But the one thing that I am sure about is that other people's lives, they're not playthings. We gamble in Mali, but we don't gamble with others. And you didn't see that. And I wish that you did. I really, really do. But you didn't see it back at the academy, and you can't see it now.
Omera.
Omera will scoot a little bit closer.
What is it like to die?
I don't know. But when we're on the edge and we're on the precipice, the people that we've lost come to help us make that transition if we want to, if we have to. So close your eyes and let your people help you.
And as you look back, finishing your sentence, you see he is already passed. Whether or not if he heard the end of your advice remains to be seen. As you are left with the sounds of the shore. What are you feeling in this moment, Omera?
Heavy grief. This was not a decision that Omera wanted to make or wanted to have to make. And I think Omera starts to cry softly as Titus passes. Because this was somebody that was once their friend. The two of them had something, a relationship at one point. It's never easy. Losing that, no matter what the other person becomes. And there is a sense of relief as well. That at least this is over. That at least Titus can't hurt anyone else anymore. And that theoretically nobody else should be able to either, because the Infinity Machine, or at least the spire that was used to power it, is destroyed. As far as Omera knows, anyway. There can never be another god ever again. And what a wonderful world that is.
Sitting down with these thoughts, you see on the side, wow, you did do all the heavy lifting, inspired the people to stand up. You don't get the credit, as usual. Aiden is the one that is hailed as a hero. As you hear them chanting his name, riling them up to join their rebellion. Another act done in your name. Another act that no one will remember the God Killer was responsible for. As you have your thoughts, you feel a hand on your shoulder. You see a humanoid figure, real touch senses. As you see Dawn has somehow materialized as they look at you. I can feel the sun.
I can feel you.
You see, they put their hand in the sand and just let it drift between their hands. I can feel again.
I'm so glad. So we're not...
No, I don't think so.
Well, congrats. Will you help me? And Omera turns to Titus's body that is impaled on this piece, and is going to start to like remove the body off of it. And wherever, I assume that like there were other casualties in this battle that occurred, and so wherever the rebels are kind of setting up like a graveyard of sorts to like bury people, Omera's gonna, with Dawn's help ideally, is going to bring Titus's body to that space.
The beach is where they bury most of the bodies individually, giving their last sort of rites. You and Dawn are the only ones who care about Titus. And I think, especially with the mood, you go a little bit off the way. So it's just only the two of you. As you dig, put the body and bury. A piece of driftwood is found. Dawn writes Titus's name, but leaves it to you to put what his last words or his memorial would be.
I think Omera will write underneath Titus's name, "Let his life be a reminder that there are limits to big ideas, but none to big hearts.
As you finish off the last carving, as the camera slowly pans away, as we watch you and Dawn walk off, leaving us only with the image of the god killer who died. And slowly fade to black. And that is our season of Forsaken, everyone! Yay!
I hope Ada's okay.
Hope Ada's okay. We shall see. We shall see. With that, everyone, thank you for joining us for the plethora of this series here. With that in mind, we're going to go in reverse order here. And with that, God Killer, sweet, sweet plugs if you got them.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Hamna. I use any and all pronouns. And it has been my pleasure to be your God Killer for this season. Damn, yeah. Wild. You can how do you do outros? I am still processing, as you can see. I am a TTRPG performer and producer, and you can find me all over the social medias at Lilith TTRPG. This was my only sort of like ongoing show at the moment, so if you want to see me again, you should head over to Transplanar RPG's channel on this upcoming Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we will be doing our annual charity stream of For the Queen. This year we are raising money for Care for Gaza, which is a mutual aid organization that provides food and other essentials to Palestinians that are currently experiencing an ongoing genocide. So, I mean, if you resonated with the themes of this show, you should definitely go and donate money to that. Yeah, so that's going to be a really good time. We've got some giveaways as incentives, so yeah, check that out. But otherwise, keep an eye out on my social media to figure out where I'm going to be later, because we've got some fun announcements coming up. And with that, I will pass it over to God.
Hello, it's me, your humble, handsome, and pragmatic god. I am Chris, and I have been your god for these preceding evenings. You can find me on the Twitter, while it's still live, at BO_Cologne, that's COLON. In terms of what I got going on, this was pretty much the last of my stuff. I'm in currently like what we like to call production hell. Positive though, affectionate. As we're working on some content here on the channel for September. We got 2 fresh shows, both some fantasy, a little bit urban. We're not going to say too much, but keep an eye on Taíno Teo's Twitter, so you can see where all the announcements and all that good stuff there if you want to keep up with what we got going on for later this year. With that in mind, also, we were playing God Killer this whole time. Believe that? And God Killer is made by the wonderful Connie Chang, as you've always seen in the ad breaks. You should go check out the game. They got the ash can over on their space there. You can find it on their links of where to find this game if you want to play some lovely stories of God Killer for your own. With that in mind, we had an explosive and wonderful time with you for these past 13 seasons. So
Quite literally.
Well, now, quite literally. Was not expecting it. But with that in mind, we hope you have a wonderful time, and we can't wait to see you again when we come back eventually to our Forsaken. But until then, everyone, have a lovely night, and we can't wait to see you soon. Bye-bye.